I met Patrick on Adam for Adam. He was incredibly friendly, the kind of person who made you feel like you belonged from the moment you started talking. We hit it off instantly, spending hours together that first night as he decided whether I was roommate material. We smoked some weed, laughed about nothing and everything, and felt the easy rhythm of a connection forming. As it got late, I gathered my things, assuming I'd be waiting for a while for an answer. "When do you think you'll decide?" I asked, trying not to sound too eager. Patrick shook his head like I was being ridiculous. "Josh moves out Friday. You can move in Saturday?" Just like that, the nerves in my chest eased, replaced by a rush of excitement. I was in. Patrick was naturally gregarious, but the first night I moved in, he came home from work exhausted. My friend Steve was with me, and I introduced them quickly, but Patrick just exchanged some pleasantries and shuffled off to his room. I worried I had annoyed him by having a guest over. That worry disappeared the next time she visited. Patrick walked into the living room, threw his arms in the air, and screamed, saying, "Steve! Yeah!" as if he were announcing a WWE champion. His entrance was grand, absurd, and completely Patrick. Any lingering doubt that he had been annoyed vanished. He had just needed sleep. From then on, nights at our apartment became sacred. We spent hours sprawled on the couch, watching America's Next Top Model and That's So Raven, talking about the most random things while we got high and let the world outside just fade away. Our third roommate, Nick, kept mostly to himself, and I didn't realize how much turmoil he was going through until his family showed up one day to coerce him into moving back to Indiana. Patrick took over his room, the biggest one in the apartment, but that meant we needed a new roommate. As luck would have it, my friend Duncan was looking for a place. He was a tech nerd, a genius with computers, the kind of guy who could build a tower from scraps without breaking a sweat. The three of us couldn't have been more different, yet somehow we just worked. Three queer men, no major attractions between us, just a shared understanding of how to coexist. Patrick loved to bake, especially while being baked. As a color guard coach, he often made treats for his team, so I got used to finding goodies wrapped in plastic on the counter. One day, Steve and I spotted a batch of corn muffins and, without a second thought, stuffed a few into her purse for our movie night. Halfway through the mist, right as the suspense was peaking, we realized something was off. The muffins weren't just muffins. We were so stoned. By the time the credits rolled, we were barely functional. It was an irony too ridiculous to ignore. Watching a horror movie about a creeping, disorienting fog, only to stumble out of the theater into an actual foggy night, struggling to act sober. When we finally got home, Patrick was waiting in the living room, watching TV. "The muffins," I started, already laughing. His eyes widened. "Oh," he said, connecting the dots. "Those were for a dry brunch tomorrow." We howled with laughter as he shook his head, amused but unsurprised. It was a classic Patrick moment: chaos, kindness, and weed-infused baked goods. One night, Steve introduced us to Hand and Foot, a canasta-based card game with what felt like 1,000 rules. The first run was full of confused questions and rulebook references, but by the next night, we played again, and then again. Soon, it was our game, the thing that bound us together. Over time, we added Uno cards into the mix, creating a bizarre, customized version that only we understood. Steve always cheated. Patrick always caught her. His loud, booming voice would echo through the apartment as he laid out his case against her, dramatic and performative, dragging out his vowels for maximum effect. For a while, life felt calm, stable. My roommates and I got along. The card games, the late-night TV marathons, the comfort of people who understood each other. It was a balm, a necessary escape. I was still very much a sex worker then, spending my days with clients. But the moment the cards were shuffled, the stress of my life disappeared. It was the closest I got to feeling normal. But stability never lasts. Duncan had to move out, and we needed another roommate. Thankfully, Patrick's friend Nick, not the same Nick from before, had been hanging around a lot, and he jumped up at the chance to join us. He and Steve bonded quickly, and there was a natural ease to the dynamic. No judgment, all love. Then Patrick moved in his friend David. David didn't get a bedroom. He got half of the oversized living room, separated only by a curtain for privacy. The problem? He didn't pay rent. He ate all of our food, and he had loud, shameless sex in a shared space. I tried to ignore it, but when I brought my cousin home after a family gathering, we walked into the apartment only to be met with the unmistakable sounds of raunchy, uninhibited sex. That was it. Something in me shut off. I grew cold toward Patrick and David, retreating to my room, keeping to myself except for occasional time with Nick. But isolation breeds resentment, and my presence started to grate on Nick's nerves. One day, I made a passing joke. Called him a baby, I think, and he snapped. I don't remember his exact words, only the fury in his voice, the way the air in the room changed. From that moment on, everything shifted. He threatened me anytime we were in the same space. Patrick tried to mediate, but he was already planning to move out himself and didn't have the time or energy for our falling out. It hurt, but I saw the writing on the wall. I left as fast as I could, moving into a new place in Southeast Portland with another guy I met on Adam for Adam. Nick and I only saw each other once after that, at a funeral. One of our mutual friends had lost her toddler, and Nick, in some final act of cruelty, made it clear that if I showed up at the hospital, he would beat me to a pulp. I stayed away, honoring my grieving friend's wish to avoid drama, but the resentment festered. I never got to say goodbye to that little girl, and I've never forgiven him for it. I don't know where he is now, and I don't care. I only hope he's healthy. That's the most grace I can offer him. Time moved on. The drama faded. Then I got the news. Patrick had passed away. He wasn't even 40. I still don't know exactly what happened. We had remained amicable, but I found out when the rest of the world did. One moment, he was here. Then, poof, he was gone. I grieved in the way you grieve someone who was once your home but had become a distant constellation. I remembered all those nights spent stoned on the couch, watching America's Next Top Model. A few years after he died, I befriended Shandy, our favorite contestant, and during our first conversation, all I can think about was Patrick, how he was the only person who would have truly understood how much that moment meant to me. I miss him. And still, Steve and I play hand and foot, our forever card game, our time to disconnect together. We never say it out loud, but when we shuffle the deck, I can almost hear Patrick's booming voice accusing Steve of cheating. He's still there at the table with us, laughing, loud and unfiltered. His absence is palpable, but his presence lingers in every new hand. Shuffle, deal, remember.